So the first box for DLR week 15 says place a check mark by the correctly written sentences. So all we want is a sentence that is correct, a sentence that doesn't have any mistakes. So if it has a mistake, put no check mark. If it is fine, if there's no mistakes, if it's good, we do put a check. Sentence number 1 says, "Winter is my favorite season," exclaimed Jeffrey. Sentence number 1 is correct. It's got quotation marks when Jeffrey is talking. It does say that he's exclaiming, so he's shouting. He's very excited about this. The exclamation mark is inside the quotation mark. They put a period at the end. Capitalized winter because it's when he started talking. They capitalized Jeffrey because of his name. Sentence number 1, correct. Sentence number 2. Do you like to watch the snowfall? Asked Martha. Martha. Sentence number 2 is close to being correct, but they did make a mistake. Marta's asking a question. She's asking if they like to watch the snowfall. We don't know who she's talking to, but she's asking somebody. Whenever you ask a question, you need to have a question mark. They did put a question mark in their sentence, but the problem is they put it way after the question finished. Asked Marta is not part of that question, so we don't need the question mark there. We needed it after the word fall. So instead of a comma, we should have had a question mark. Since they didn't put the question mark there, it does not get a check mark. Sentence number 3. After we build our snow fort, let's have a snowball contest, Skylar suggested. Who can give me their idea? What do you think? Should sentence 3 get a check mark? Or is it fine? Is it correct? Or is there a mistake? Jadine, what do you think?
Have a. Oh no, I'm gonna be quiet. Sorry.
Okay.
I think it should get a check mark.
Think it should get a check mark?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with you. After we build our snow fort, let's have a snowball fight. Have quotation marks when he's talking. We have a comma after he says after we build our snow fort, because he's telling us when we should do this. They put a comma to separate what he's saying from the rest of my sentence, from my tag. They did capitalize his name. They ended with a period. I think you're right. I think sentence 3 should definitely get a check mark. Sentence 4. Jonathan added, I love to build snow forts. Who can tell me what about sentence 4? Should sentence 4 get a check mark or Bailey? What do you think, Bailey? Check mark or no check mark?
Sorry, I was having trouble. I think that it should have no check mark.
You are correct, Bailey. Sentence number 4 is so close to being correct, but they made one small mistake. After after the word added, they should have put a comma. They should have separated the tag from what Jonathan said. But because they forgot that comma, not a correctly written sentence, which means it does not get a check mark. Okay. We'll move on to this next one. But before we do, Chase, Christopher, Ezekiel, Jada, Jaylene, Messiah, Noah, make sure we put our cameras on. Okay. This part, we've seen some of these before, some questions like it says circle the prefix, underline the root word, write the meaning of the word. So prefixes are small parts of words that we use at the beginning of other words to help us change their meaning and to help us understand what's happening a little easier. So we're going to look at the example of prepay. Okay, go over here side, and I'm going to grab a circle, and I'm going to grab a small. So my prefix is the word pre. My root word, the word pay. So normally, pay means like when you go to Target or Walmart or wherever you might be, whatever store you might be going to, and you want to get something, you have to pay for it, right? You have to give them money. If I add a prefix to it, in this case, if I add the prefix pre, then it changes what's happening. Okay? The prefix pre means before. So, if I use it when I use the word pay, then I mean that I'm paying before something. So it could be something like, let's say you pay for, like sometimes on for some movie theaters, they have like an app on your phone, and you can buy your tickets before you even get to the movie theater. Raise your hand if mom or dad or a big brother or big sister's ever done that, like with you guys. They buy their tickets on the phone, and then they get to the movie theater and your tickets are already ready. So that would be an example of prepay, because you didn't have to wait till you got to the movie theater and stand in line and buy your tickets. You could buy them, you could pay for them before you were there to get them. So prepay means pay before. Nadine, do you have a question, or were you trying to answer earlier?
Sorry, it was from when you were like saying the ticket thing.
Oh, okay. So prepay means to pay before. Like with the tickets, it would be that you pay before you get to the movie theater. Okay. Misquote. Let's go ahead and let's grab another circle. Oh, grab another line. So misquote. The prefix is mis, and the root word, I'm going to stretch out this line just. Quote. Misquote. Raise your hand if you've ever heard that word before. Quote. Have you ever heard of someone talk about a quote or say anything like that? Okay. So for those of us that haven't, a quote is when you say something that someone else has already said. Hold on. So a quote is when you say something that someone has already said. Now, whenever you use a quote, you want to say exactly what that person said. Okay? But The prefix miss means like incorrect or wrong. So when I use that prefix along with the word quote, it means that when you try to quote someone, you try to say what they say, you say it wrong. So maybe that you got confused with some of the words, or maybe you left some of the words out. And I'll give you a good example of this. Okay, this is a real story. This is a story. It's not my story. It's my mom's story. So when my mom was really little, her and her brother were asking their mom what she was going to make for dinner. And her mom, my grandma, was telling her, well, I'm going to make this and this. And then my mom said, well, can we have beans with that? And her brother said, no, I want rice with that. And they were kind of arguing, well, no, beans will taste better. No, rice will taste better. And her grandma told her, okay, you go ask your dad and he'll decide. So if your dad says beans, we'll make beans. And if he says rice, we'll make rice. Well, my mom wanted beans. So when she went to my grandpa, she didn't ask him, do you want rice or beans, like my grandma had said. She said, Mom says we're making beans for dinner, okay? And he just went, okay. And so she went back to my grandma and said, he said beans are okay. So she went back, and when she was talking to my grandpa, she was supposed to be saying what my grandma had actually said, which is, do you want rice or do you want beans? But she didn't say it right. She said it wrong because she wanted one answer more than the other. She kind of tricked him into being on her side. So a misquote is a wrong quote, or you could say quoted wrong. So whatever words you were supposed to use or whatever words you were supposed to say, you didn't. You might have mixed them up, you might have left out some words or something like that. Disallow. Grab another circle. And let's grab another line. Okay. Disallow. Dis is my prefix, and allow, stretch this out a little bit again, is my root word. Who can tell me, what does the word allow mean? Bailey, what does allow mean?
Allow means something that they say yes for.
Okay, so I guess like something that you have like permission to do, right?
Right.
Okay, so something that you're able to do or something that you have permission to do. Dis is a prefix that means not or don't. So when I use it with the word allow, instead of saying, like Bailey, I think you gave a good like example, like when someone says yes, like if you ask mom, can I eat some cookies right now? And if she says yes, that means that you are allowed to eat cookies, right? Disallowed would be like if you asked mom, can I go eat some cookies? And she said no. Disallowed means that you are not allowed, or that something is not allowed. You can put do allow or not allowed. So either way you want to put it, either do not allow or not allowed. Like some of us, I know some of us that might have like younger brothers or sisters, they might not be allowed to be in our rooms because maybe they make a mess. Or if you have older brothers or sisters, you might not be allowed in their rooms because they're worried about you making a mess. You could say that they are disallowing you from entering the. What's up, Jadine?
I'm ready for the unnecessary one.
Oh, okay. First, let me grab circle and the line. This is a longer word, so I'll get the long line. Okay. So my prefix is actually pretty short. I can squish my circle here a bit. It's just un. And the root word is necessary. So, Jadine, what does necessary mean?
Necessary?
Mm-hmm.
It means like it's not weird or something,
Mm,
or like
sort of.
it's like the right thing to do.
That's pretty close. What if I told you this, Jadine? Food and water are necessary. What do you think necessary means?
What you need.
Necessary means something that you need. So, the prefix un means not. So, what do you think unnecessary means?
You don't need it.
You don't need it. So, even though we could say something like food and water are necessary, right?
Yeah.
I could say something like, let's say a Hershey's bar is unnecessary because you could eat food, right? And there's healthier food to eat than just eating chocolate all the time.
Yeah. Like yogurt.
Yeah, you could eat something like yogurt, or you could eat some fruit or something like that. Now, does that mean that like someone might say, but if I don't get chocolate, I'll starve. Are they really gonna starve without a chocolate bar?
No.
Now they could eat some other food, right? So even though it's really tasty, and even though people really like it, and they might eat it pretty often, it's unnecessary. It's not something that you need because we know that if we were gonna eat something probably a little bit better for us, we might eat something like you said, like some fruit or some yogurt or something like that. Now, there is one time that I have heard of where candy bars are necessary. You absolutely need them. The one time I've heard of that candy bars are necessary, that you absolutely like 100% need them, is scientists that are studying like in the North Pole or the South Pole when they're studying that area there. Because it's so cold, when they go out onto like the snow and the ice to do their research and things like that, they have to take candy bars with them. They have to eat candy bars while they're out there because they spend so much time shivering and their body actually works so hard trying to keep warm that they need all the extra sugar to give their body more energy so that they can stay warm. And that's the only time I've ever heard of that somebody needs candy bars. And it almost makes it seem like it's worth it to go all the way to the North Pole or the South Pole to do research. But I don't know. It is pretty cold. Let's look at our sentence. Would you like to make snow angels, Annie? Asked Morgan. What are some mistakes that we can see or that we can find in our sentence? Would you like to make snow angels, Annie? Asked Morgan. Jadine.
Where the question mark is, it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be where Annie is.
Okay. The question mark needs to be moved to after the word Annie. Very good. Christopher. What would you say, Christopher? What's another mistake? Change wood to wood. That's the wrong kind. That kind of wood with two O's, that's like the kind that you chop down trees for. They're not talking about that one. It's WOULD. Very good change there, Christopher. What else? There's other mistakes that are left in this sentence. Not just changing wood to the other kind of wood. Not just moving question. Bella, what else? We do have to capitalize the M in Morgan. It is someone's name. What's another mistake? Bailey?
You have to capitalize A in Annie.
You have to capitalize the A in Annie, because that's someone's name too. Alexa?
Put a question mark behind Annie.
So we already said we needed to move that question mark, but you're right. We do need to do that.
Is there another mistake?
Yeah, there's more mistakes than that. So far, Christopher said we need to change wood to wood, a different kind of wood. We said we needed to capitalize the A in Annie. We need to capitalize the M in Morgan. We needed to move the question mark after the word Annie. But what else?
I don't know.
There are three more mistakes left. All right, 2 punctuation mistake and 1 spelling mistake. Christopher? When we write the word would, we need to capitalize the W. Oh, sorry, did you not? Oh, okay, I see it now. I thought when you first put the other kind of wood that you put a capital W already, Christopher. I'm sorry, I didn't notice that earlier. But you're right. When I spell the second kind of wood, I need a capital W. Besides that, we do still have the 2 punctuation mistakes, 1 spelling mistake that is left. Jaylene?
I have a different thing to say.
Oh, what?
My internet, it keeps on going out.
I can't hear you right now, Jaylene. I don't know if you were too far from your microphone or what, but it sounded really, really quiet. Can you try again?
My internet, it keeps on going out.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know it was doing that earlier. It seems to be going okay right now. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll see if it stays that way. Jaylene, did you find another mistake?
Capitalize Annie?
We said capitalize Annie already.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, there are 2 punctuation mistakes, so marks that either we need to add or that we need to get rid of, and then 1 spelling mistake. Kind of like the one that Christopher found earlier. But this one, it's not a homophone mistake, it's just a spelling mistake. Something they did that's a little bit wrong. Would you like to make snow angels? Annie asked Morgan. Christopher, you think you found it? I mean, I guess found one of them. Which one do you think you found? What's another mistake we need? Mm, not after Annie, Christopher. The comma needs to go before Annie. After Annie, we need to have the question mark because we're asking her a question. But we need to put the comma before Annie because we're not saying, would you like to make Snow Angel's Annie? Because her name is just Annie, not Angel's Annie. So we do need a comma in front of the word Annie. That means we still have one punctuation mistake and one spelling mistake. If I move this question mark from the end of the sentence, I moved it here after Annie, what do I need to make sure I do after that? Jadine?
Put after that a period.
Put a period after Morgan. I still need to end my sentence. Okay, last one. It's kind of a sneaky one. Would you like to make Snow? If this was in math class, it would make sense. Because right now, the way that they spelled it, this says, would you like to make Snow angles, Annie? Angles and angel, well, angels, are spelled very, very similarly. If it's Angles, then that's angles. That's like if they were going to walk out into the snow and they were going to start drawing acute and obtuse and right angles in the snow. But I don't think that's what they're trying to do. Pretty sure they're trying to make Snow angels. And if they're going to make Snow angels, then it should be Angels. So if I have everything correct, it should be quotation mark because someone is talking. Capital. Would you like to make Snow angels? GELS, comma. Capital. Annie, question mark. Then the quotation mark. Asked, capital. Morgan, period. So that had a few mistakes in it today. Okay. Then we have some comparative and superlative form. We did those before as well. Remember, comparative is when you are comparing two things. Superlative is when you're comparing more than two things. So they give us two examples here, thoughtful and amazing. Now, normally for comparative and superlative, comparative gets an ER at the end and superlative gets an EST. Like if you were talking about, I don't know, brothers and sisters, you might say something like, my brother is older, because you're comparing just you and your brother. But then if you compare you and your brother and your sister, you might say, my brother is older, but my sister is the oldest. And use that EST ending if she's the oldest one out of all of you. But some words, like thoughtful and amazing, don't follow that same pattern. They don't just put an ER or an EST at the end when they're comparing or when they're superlative. So, like thoughtful, you wouldn't say, oh, my brother is thoughtfuler and my sister is the thoughtfulest. What you would say is, my sister is more thoughtful. If you were going to be superlative, you would say, my brother is the most thoughtful. So again, usually for comparative and superlative, you add an ER for comparative, you add an EST for superlative. But words like thoughtful and amazing don't follow that pattern. They have a different one. You would just use the word more for for comparative, and the word most superlative. What's up, Jadine?
What's a superlative? I can't say that one.
Comparative. Like I just said, comparative is when you're comparing two things and only two things. So again, talking about, let's say you and a brother. If you said, my brother is older than me, you're comparing you and your brother. Two people, only two people. That's comparative. Because you're doing what? You're comparing. If you're going to compare, let's say 3 things, or 5 things, or 1,000,000 things, really, once you go above 2, it doesn't matter. Once you go above 2, then you're talking about superlative. Like the most something. That's like when you enter, let's say, a competition or like a race, and you beat everyone else in the race and you come in first place. That's like what superlative is. So if you're talking about just you and your brother, you might say, my brother is older. Because you're just comparing you two. But let's say it's not just you and your brother. Let's say it's you and your brother and a sister. And the sister is older than all of you. So then you would say, my sister is the oldest out of all of us. And that's normally how it goes. ER for comparative, EST for superlative. But these ones kind of work on their own pattern. Thoughtful uses more or most, and amazing actually follows that same pattern. You wouldn't say amazing-er or amazing-est. Who thinks they can tell me what would you say for comparative? Not just amazing, but this is what? If it's following the same pattern as thoughtful, what would you say? Might say this one, this one, I don't know, let's say this one movie is pretty amazing, but this other movie is what? Jadine?
Amazing girl?
Nope. Like I just said, this one follows the same pattern as thoughtful. It didn't go thoughtful-er and thoughtful-est. What did it do?
You put more in front of it.
More. So this other one is more amazing. And if it does follow that same pattern, what would be the superlative? Jada, what would be the superlative? The most amazing. Now, normally, Jadine, for a lot of words, you'd be right. You would add the ER to the end or the EST to the end. But certain words like thoughtful and amazing, instead of using ER and EST, they use more and to be comparative or superlative. Okay, last part of the Monday page, we're going to combine some sentences. We have Mia likes December, her brother likes July. Mia likes December, her brother likes July. We have A, Mia likes December because her brother likes July. We have B, Mia likes December, her brother likes July. We have C, Mia likes December, but her brother likes July. And we have D, make no change. The sentences are perfectly combined the way that they are. Who can tell me what answer choice would be the best one for this one? What would be the best way to combine those two? Would it be A, B, C, or D? Bella?
B.
B. Mia likes December, her brother likes July. That's close, but I see one problem with that. It's not a bad choice, but it's not the best because it does have one problem there. Bailey, do you see the problem? Very close.
It's her.
No, her is okay. It was in my first sentence, right? Her brother likes July. We talked before about complete sentences. And when you have two complete sentences and you want to combine them, you want to make them into just one sentence, what do you need? What do you need to combine two complete sentences? Jada? What do you need? Very good. You need a comma and a conjunction. One of our fanboy words. If I take a look at answer choice B, it's got a comma. But look at the next word. Her. It's not that there's a problem with the word her. The problem is that it's not a conjunction. One of my answer choices does have a conjunction though. Which one of my answer choices has the comma and has the conjunction? Bailey, you see it? Which one of my answer choices has the comma and the conjunction?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
C.
Answer choice C. Mia likes December, comma, but her brother likes July. That's one of my fanboy words. That's one of my conjunctions, and that's what I need. So answer choice A just tries to use the word because, puts it in the middle and hopes that's good enough. No, that doesn't make sense. Because December and July are very, very different, and it doesn't make sense to say, oh, well, because this, I like this thing that's completely different. Trying to put a comma in the middle is not bad, but it's not the way it should go. What I need to have is the comma and the conjunction. So I need to pick answer choice C. So here's what my page should look like. Here's all the correct answers. Make sure that your page matches my page. I'll give you a little bit of time to do that before we move on.